we can build a business for a physician, with our help, probably in 30 days, get it off the ground um, in probably 60 days and start to get actual customers. That's how fast things are now because of AI and everything. It's incredible.
Welcome to the Ultimate Real Estate Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Guy Bouchard, and I have our special guest today, Dr. Buck Parker. Dr. Buck, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me,
We
man.
have just recently met and had some synergies in our business because we are both dedicated to helping create some additional income and buy time back for our clients. Is that fair to say that's what
Absolutely.
you're doing with your clients?
That's exactly what I'm doing with just basically physicians, helping physicians move from, the system that is basically government run insurances and government dictates their value to something that's more cash based. And so they can create their own value in a free market system. So,
Well, and I love that. And my clients that I generally serve myself are helping people create a similar thing through the acquisition, restoration, and management of multifamily assets. And what I find in my business is that there's a lot of uncertainty for everybody to sort of break into that, but everybody's looking for the same thing. They want to create some type of additional or passive income to buy their time back. And it's important to me to help people do that because ultimately it helps them live the lifestyle that they're looking for. And in your business, what do you see that are some of the biggest challenges that your clients face?
yeah, man, physicians just work too much. I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I was a trauma surgeon for 10 years, right? It took me 14 years to get there. And so I went to undergrad med school, did my residency. My residency was 6 years. And then undergrad and med school are 4 years each, right? So 14. And then you think you get to this place where it's going to be so great. You're going to make all this money. You're going to be top dog and all this stuff. And then you get out there and you realize that the government, pays you $350 to save somebody's life, and you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. And so you do that for a while, and you kind of get very frustrated, and you work a ton because there's lots of patients out there. You want to help people, which is why you went there into med school or residency and stuff in the first place. And you get into this place where you make good money, but not crazy money, and it's the old like doctor. The golden handcuffs situation. And so you have this machine going, but you're the only machine. And so that's a problem because if you stop, like the money stops. And so a lot of doctors get into a scenario where they're working a ton and they're making a ton and they're feeling like really good about themselves. They're like, oh, I'm helping a lot of people, but I'm making all this money. And it's, most doctors or a lot of doctors will make much more money than most people will. They sometimes 10x what typical average salary would be. But once you stop it, it's gone. And so they don't want to stop that sort of getting the money, but also feeling like they have this identity that they are elevated. And so what I've found is, and this happened to me, and I through other means, I've always been sort of an entrepreneur. Actually, in residency, I started a e-commerce business that made like 1.2 million in like 18 months. So after
Okay.
that, I felt like, oh, okay, I can set my own value. But then when you go back into medicine, they're like, no, your value is this. And I'm like, wait a second, I have this type of value. Like I can create value over here. And then you're telling me I don't have any. So it was this weird thing. And then I also got into Bitcoin mining, and that helped me sort of separate myself from medicine. But a lot of my colleagues were always like, how do you do this? What are you doing? They're just getting frustrated. Like as more and more they work more and more each year, they get more and more frustrated with the system. And so, which led me to now build the program that I do now, which is basically help physicians build some sort of a machine besides themselves to help them separate. They don't have to quit medicine, but a lot of them need, like, if you can buy some of that time back, then you could say, okay, medicine, I can take a little break, or maybe I'm going to go cut this in half, or maybe I just a 3/4, or I'm just going to do a quarter of what I used to do because now I have a machine that can buy my time back. So that's like essentially what I'm doing now.
And so how, there's a lot to unpack there, because I find a lot of similarities in every client that I talk to, and it doesn't matter whether they're professionals or tradesmen or doctors or lawyers or accountants. Everybody's kind of looking for something similar. Some of them maybe want to be more active in that side revenue or make it their primary business, but there's also a lot of people, I think, that you sort of alluded to, that don't necessarily want to quit what they're doing. They just want to create a little bit more freedom and not be so tied to having to work, which is ultimately just trading your time for money. And I think we can all appreciate that. So what are you doing exactly for your clients that's helping them escape that?
Yeah. So what I did before is I built an e-commerce business, right? So I sold, essentially, this is 2005. It was like very, very early on. I'm like, this internet thing is really cool. People are selling stuff on the internet and people are buying stuff on the
So
internet.
just 20 years ago.
And so 20 years ago, I built an e-commerce store with the help of some people. Obviously, I had to pay somebody to like build the store, but I had the idea, got the product, sourced the product, all that stuff. And it was like an exercise product. So I ended up selling this exercise product and nobody was kind of doing it. And I was first to market to sort of do Google ads for this product. And I was paying 5 cents or 10 cents a click, and they were buying the thing for, they were already talked into the product because there was infomercials around the product. And so
Totally.
then they would go, they were just getting used to seeing the infomercial. People were thinking, I don't want to call in and have somebody hound me to upsell 25 times. I'm going to go to the internet and buy it. And so people were coming to the internet, making one click and buying the thing. So I was like paying 10 cents and then making $40. So with that background, I was very always interested and kept my finger on the pulse of internet marketing, products, how to get yourself out there on the interweb, on social media. I built up a social media following. And, so that's what I've translated now to physicians, because traditionally doctors would be like, no way, I'm not going on the internet to advertise. One, actually, when I first started in 2010, I just finished residency in 2010. One of the older surgeons that I was not partnered with, but I was like in the same office. I was actually a competition for him, but whatever. We were just, we're all taking call at the same hospital. So we're buddies. And I was going to do these ads. And he was like, oh, no, surgeons don't advertise. That's like, no, that's a no. You should just, your work should just speak for itself. And then you should get referrals from all the other doctors. I'm like, well, dude, I don't know, man. Why don't we just put some videos on YouTube and explain our surgery, because nobody knows what the hell we're doing. And he was like, all that I was doing that. So I started doing YouTube videos in like 2010 about what an appendix is, what a gallbladder is, why do you have problems with it, why do you take it, what the surgery's about,
And
what's the
just for
post-op. I
context, in
mean,
2010, was that, sorry to interrupt you, but was that, where were you in your career when that was actually
yeah,
happening?
I was the first. I just finished residency, so this was like I was a surgeon for the first year, and what I saw in my residency was when a senior surgeon explained what they were going to do for a patient, the patient's eyes were like this big. They had absolutely no idea. The senior surgeon walked out of the office or the ER or whatever it was, and then I said, "Wait right there. I'm going to draw you a picture." I drew a picture of the anatomy. I said, "This is what we're going to do." And sometimes this is like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning for some patient that is like deathly ill and there's have lots of pain, and they look, because where they have so much pain, they just go, I don't care what you're doing, I don't even know what you're talking about, just take it, just please stop the pain. And so I saw that in those patients, so would do explain, take some time to explain what's going on, and then they go, oh my god, that's what it is. Oh, okay, I totally get it now. Okay, that's great. So anyway, when I saw that in residency, then and when I was attending, when you're first out, you don't have a lot of patience. And so I had some time on my hands. I thought, let me make some YouTube videos to explain the most common surgeries that we do: appendix, gallbladder, hernia. Nobody knows what's in there. Let's make a picture. Let's do a, video. Let's explain something. Let's explain the pre-op. Let's explain the, if you're a patient and you don't know what's going on and you go see a doctor, do you remember everything that they said? No, of course, you just like, poof, it's gone. You
Just like,
forget.
I
You
trust
go
you. I
home.
trust you with my life.
Your family asks you, what did they say? And you're like, I don't I don't remember what he said. It was something about appendix. I don't know. Is it here? Is it there? I don't know where it is. So anyway, so I explained, I was like one of the first people to do this on YouTube, to explain the whole pre-op operation and post-op care and all that stuff. And so, okay, go take this video home to your family so they can understand what surgery you're going to get, all that stuff. So I saw all that stuff very early, but I was made fun of by the older guys.
As
They
most
thought,
trailblazers
they
are.
thought I was
So I can appreciate that.
absolutely insane. So anyway, the point of all of that is that um, I like building scalable businesses. Okay. And if you're a physician, you're one person, one guy, one girl, and you can see one patient at a time. But if we can build something that is like that instructional thing, and we can sell that to many people over and over and over and over, and sometimes we don't even see or talk to or interact with that person over the old interweb, like that's possible now. That is a scalable thing. And so I took sort of all those things that I learned for a long time and packaged all that. And so now it is still a custom type of a business with physicians. We do a custom package where we will go basically figure out who you are, what your expertise is, what's your life experience, what's your demographic. Are you a guy? Are you a girl? Are you non-binary? Like, who can you target, right? Because that's important to figure out what is your target market, how sort of targeted and narrow can we get it, but still applying sort of the big three categories of sort of wealth, health, and relationships. And so then we take that stuff and say, okay, Dr. Smith, you are check all these boxes. Maybe you should think about building a relationship product. Maybe you're a pediatrician and you fix relationships all the time. Well, you know what? Bad relationships, fixing a bad relationship is really, really valuable to a lot of people. If your own child is ruining your entire life because you have a bad relationship with them, a lot of people will pay a lot of money for that, $20,000, $50,000 to fix that. So we teach physicians how to package that, to find it, number one, to package it, and then basically deliver at scale. So that's the long answer to your question.
It's okay because it's a lot that what I'm hearing from all of that is, there are a lot of things, but the thing that stands out to me the most is that you identified that adding value years before it was ever even popular was the right thing to do. Serving your
Yeah,
clients and helping them with the information to demystify and sort of break down the complexity in a manner that could help them understand how to move forward and to help feel more comfortable with the process that they were going through. And I think that resonates with me a lot because there's a lot of people that miss the boat on that, and it forces a lot of information or a lot of things to happen that people just aren't comfortable with. And it's not without that information, that knowledge, and that willingness to put yourself out there that that really starts to land those relationships and solidify that. And the other thing I'm hearing from that is a big problem solver. I mean, sounds like you were an entrepreneur far before you were ever a physician, and
yeah, pretty
and
much.
you've kind of carried that spirit through and through, and it's kind of led you to where you are, which isn't even really practicing anymore, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and that's a great story. I'll tell it. Try to shorten that story, but basically,
Problem.
in 20, I got fired for. I built up a social media following, a couple 100,000 on YouTube, and Facebook, or not Facebook, Instagram, and was talking about COVID. And just what I saw as a physician in the hospital was not matching what we were seeing on TV. And so I talked about that. I talked to physicians in our hospital, in the ICU, who was dying, who was not dying. And then I sort of talked about those results on a live on Instagram. And the CEO, this is just old school stuff. The CEO of that regional medical center didn't like my YouTube to begin with, and that was just sort of the last straw. So he got rid of me, and but the joke was on him. I was already mining Bitcoin to the tune of about $100,000 a month at the time, and so I was like, "Fire me, please, God, fire me," because I'm like burned out. I'm so sick of this. I've been doing it for 10 years, And I didn't feel like I was really evolving as a person or anything. I felt like I was just stuck and they weren't really letting me go anywhere. I was trying to do all this cool stuff with social media and they were just like, you're not doing any of that, kid. So anyway, I got fired at that point and then decided I'll take 3 months off. 3 months turn into 6 months, 6 months turn into a year, turn into 2 years. And but I realized at that time I was burned out and I was missing out on life, a lot of life. And so that's sort of what happened with that. And that was my second sort of realization that I could just go out there and figure stuff out, mine Bitcoin, right? Nobody really taught me how to do it. I had a few friends that maybe gave me a few kernels of information here and there and then really crushed it. And second time in my life where I was just like, you know what? I can figure that stuff out.
Well, and how when I hear you talking about that, I think about the awareness level of most people, no matter what it is, and there's a lot of similarities in every single person, every single industry of the same thing. They feel trapped. They're looking for an exit. They don't know how to get it. I mean, I'm going to call it fortunate enough to get fired to kind of force you to sort of go down your own path. But a lot of people aren't in that situation. They're still in the thick of it. They're still rolling up their sleeves every single day, and they're wondering what it takes to go down a different path. And that uncertainty and that complexity can be what traps most people in it forever. But doing it themselves seems like an overwhelming task as well, with not having the steps to do it. So how long did it really take you? I mean, you mentioned 2005 when you started doing the YouTube videos, but I would imagine that wasn't creating a business and creating an income to get yourself out of the career you were in at that stage wasn't quite it. But if someone were to start alone, figuring it out the way that you figured it out, how long do you think that it would take them versus how quickly you think that you could help them knowing what you know now?
Yeah, well, I mean, in 2005 when I did build that e-commerce business, first of all, I didn't do it by myself. I actually bought a program to help me do it. And that thing was like way more expensive than I should have been paying for at the time because I was a resident making no money. I literally think I was like $800 a month, and I was probably making little under $2,000 a month. And I had rent and all. Anyway, so it was really foolish, but I was very convicted, and I just also believed in myself. And so I think I'm a huge proponent of getting people that know what they're doing, that have already done what you want to do, getting them on board, learning as much as possible from them, and whatever way you can. If you have to do it in a free way, that's fine. If you have the money to pay somebody to do it, that's even better because you usually get more attention, whatever it is. But the you're asking about the time frame of essentially a physician building a business and all that stuff. I'll give you a reference is that business, that e-commerce business took me probably, I think it was October to April to build. And that was a very, very simple store, but it just took me that long to educate myself on what exactly I was doing, hire somebody to build it. They had to build the store, which took like a couple months. And then I had to understand like marketing stuff. I had no experience. And so, and I still didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just got a little bit lucky at the same time. Timing's everything too. But I think after that, I built a study course for kids. This was like 2016, 17, and that with me researching everything to make sure it was a good course for kids. Also doing the videos, having them edited, having somebody build the website because I didn't, still didn't know how to do that. All those things. That took me about a year to build that. I could do that same thing now with because of AI and well, because of the things I know, but also because of AI and probably about 2 weeks. So if we can, what I think, we can build a business for a physician with our help, probably in 30 days, get it off the ground in probably 60 days and start to get actual customers. That's how fast things are now because of AI and everything. It's incredible, but it's also because myself and my partner have a lot of experience in this area. probably like you're the same. You have a lot of experience in your area, and so you can move fast. And when you're first starting out, it just takes a long time. My Bitcoin, when I started mining Bitcoin, that took me 2 years of research and convincing myself that Bitcoin was a good idea to invest in. So that's a whole nother thing. Like I didn't have to build anything. I just bought stuff, had it shipped to a company. They took care of it, and then they sent me the Bitcoin. I didn't hook anything up. I didn't do any of that stuff. But it took me about 2 years to convince myself through research and reading and watching and seeing how things worked and deciding, okay, this person said this and that happened, which is congruent or incongruent or whatever it is, to convince myself that this was a good investment. So
Yeah, and there's a lot there, and you're obviously focused on, there's a lot of things people can invest their time and their money into, but you're helping a very specific niche market and one that very well do a very specific thing, correct?
correct. That's absolutely. I know physicians, I know their pains. I know why they're upset, why they would want to go build a new business. I know how much time they don't have to do it. That's why we offer it to build it for them, with their help. But yeah, I think that's really important is to understand whoever you're helping at a deep level. I think you can just serve them so much better that way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And when I look at the client base that I serve as well in my niche, in my market, it's very similar. And it starts with understanding what people even want to do, what they have the time or the capacity to do. And when you're talking about building a different business, you probably have different services of when that business is complete. Do you not? Like, do you have the option for them to be able to operate it themselves and to continue managing that moving forward versus a done for you product or service where you can do everything moving forward, where they're just investing the money up front to have it done for them?
Yeah, I mean, the business typically is they have to be running it, but we can do basically almost everything. We just need to extract, who they are, what they do, what their expertise is, what the messaging is that they're comfortable with, and then we can sort of build all the back end and the machine. And especially as a physician, if you're dealing with patients, then obviously you have to take care of the patients in a way that hopefully the delivery is not burdensome for them. So it's offloading. We're trying to build a business that makes less work for them instead of more work, which they have right now. But yeah, we do different things. Some docs like want to do it themselves. They're like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm an ER doc. I'm thinking about this. I would rather just learn about it and maybe try to do it some stuff myself." We have a package for that. We have a package that's like, okay, you can learn most of it yourself. We'll have a couple classes for you, and then we have, listen, we're going to do 95% of the work for you.
So, as I'm listening to this, I don't think me as an outsider of the physician world fully understand exactly what it is. Could you just explain it to me in layman's terms from someone who's not a physician, exactly what you would be creating for a doctor? Because all I know and all I
Sure.
think is I walk into a doctor's office. I think I know that the government in some form is compensating them to provide a service to me on a daily basis. But what is the business that you're talking about that's actually going to create that time freedom?
Sure. So it's a great question. I'll give you a couple examples. One example is there's a doc who's a podiatrist and he works on feet and he does a bunion surgery, but he does a minimally invasive bunion surgery, which basically gets people back walking again 2 to 4 weeks before they would with the typical bunion surgery. Okay,
Okay.
so he's trained. He's been doing this for a long time. He's a surgeon for like 10 years. He trained in this minimally invasive surgery like 5 years ago. He's one of the guys, only people in his area that does this minimally invasive surgery. But he gets no different pay for any of his extra work or that he's a master in this specific surgery, this minimally invasive bunion surgery, because the government and insurance companies just say, well, it's just a bunion surgery. Too bad. Like, I don't care if you have to use extra instruments, if you have to train differently, if you have to do extra work, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. If you get better results for the patient, doesn't matter. If it's less pain for the patient, doesn't matter. Right. In a free market, that would matter a lot. Okay, you can go
Big
over
time.
here and pay $5 for this and have a lot of pain, or you can pay $1,000 for this and have no pain. What are you going to do? Right? That's a free market.
Absolutely.
Well, it's not. So he's like, look, I get $500 for this thing. I know that other podiatrists are doing the same thing in other parts of the country and they're getting 5,000. Okay, so let's build you a marketing machine around this five. But the catch is that somebody has to come out of their pocket and pay him 5,000 because they're already paying insurance. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to pay extra money because I'm already paying insurance. Well, docs are stuck in the middle. Like, listen, what do I do here? You're paying me less every year. My
Yeah.
skills are better, right? What is going on? And so we have to position him. We have to let people know. We have to build some authority and value around it and communicate that to patients that this is so much better. You're definitely going to want to pay 5 grand for it. Okay, so that's what we build for him. So we build the marketing around that, the positioning, the messaging, but also how is he gonna find those people, right? If he lives in LA, but he wants people to fly into him to get this surgery because he knows that maybe LA is not big enough market. Well, LA is probably a big enough market, but say you live somewhere else, right? Maybe you won't have enough. And so his question is like, I'm a doctor. I don't know how to do marketing. I don't know how to do Facebook ads. I don't know how to do Google. I don't know how to do TV ads. I don't know how to do anything.
Sounds like
I
every
was
business owner
doing this
ever.
surgery, man, and I'm like, okay, well, great. Well, like we can do this for you. So that's what we do. We figure out their market, their messaging. We develop a plan or an offer for them. Okay, this is a bunion surgery, but it's minimally invasive. I know it's 5,000, but guess what? You also get to stay at the Ritz Carlton. You get 2 free meals. You're going to come see him beforehand. You're going to get a massage. So we'll build an experience around that as well, right? So the patient, like now these are luxury type of experiences. And so now the patient is like, hey, if I'm going to get a bunion surgery, I might as well have no pain, get walking 2 weeks early and stay at the Ritz Carlton. All right, I'm coming. But that's sort of the example we're doing.
So is that detaching them or making them less dependent on the system and basically helping them build a private practice? Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, this is actually seen in plastic surgery. Plastic surgery has gone kind of bananas, and those guys just say, "Well, it's you want a boob job? It's 15 grand. I don't really care if you have the money or not, because there's 85 million people behind you that want to pay for it. Because I do it a great job, and the insurance wants to pay me $1,000, but I want 15. And look at all of my results; they're amazing. You're going to look beautiful. You're going to love yourself for the rest of your life after that. How would you like to love how you look for the rest of your life? Is that worth $15,000? They're like, it's no brainer. Yes. So plastic surgery has been doing this for a long time, but a lot of other physicians in other specialties just are getting squeezed. There's a lot behind it. I mean, the insurance companies have actually committed crimes and fraud in order to drive down the payouts to physicians and patients. So it's really bad and unfortunate. But in this country or whatever, maybe Canada too, those things just don't get fixed, right? Those industries are too big. They have too much money. They've paid millions and millions of dollars in fines, but who cares, because they make $30 trillion a year. So they don't care if they get caught. They don't care if they have to pay millions in fines. United Healthcare paid $220 million in fines in 2006 when they got caught suppressing the prices that are being paid to physicians. The prices didn't change. Nothing happened. They kept doing the same stuff. But they got caught. They got sued. They were found liable. They paid a fine, and people just kept going. So what are you going to do? So you can just decide, okay, I'm part of the system and I'm just going to suffer for the rest of my life, or I'm going to figure something out and I'm going to create my own value, and I'm going to enter this free market system in a way that, well, that's what we think is we can help you enter the free market system. If you should do that, if you can. But and the thing is, like, you can still take care of the patients that can't pay, right? If you're charging 5 grand for a bunion surgery, great. You could take care of some patients that have zero money. You could do those. You still do that stuff. So that's kind of what I advocate anyway.
Yeah, well, it's leveraging the expertise that you have to create more time for yourself. And I mean, I think we're all living in a bit of a system that continues to demand more of our time and more of our money for less in return. And I think that's, a pretty fair consensus across the
Absolutely.
board for everybody that you and I are trying to serve, and most people out there. And I think, people are getting tired. People are getting tired of being taken advantage of, and we're tired of not having our time and investing into assets, whether that's real estate, crypto, your own business, whatever it is. We only have a certain amount of time on this planet. And, it sounds like you're helping people enjoy more of that for their own. Why do you do what you do, Dr. Buck? What
Y-
drives you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that because I sort of tasted that freedom early, you know,
Sounds like it.
and then entered this system that was like, "No, no, no, just kidding, kid. Like, you're not, we're gonna dictate everything." I was like, "Whoa, yo, man, there's a better way." And the whole time, like, worked for 10 years as a surgeon, and the whole time I'm thinking to myself, same, right? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Man, I could just quit and go build an e-commerce business." And I struggled with that for years because I didn't. And I thought, well, went to school for 14 years, and I set out on a mission to help human beings. And if I just go build an e-commerce business and make a bunch of money, is that really helping anybody? Is that really, something I'm going to be proud of when I'm 80 or whatever it is? And I struggled with that for a really long time. But now I think that at when I got fired to now is about 5 years. And since then, I can't tell you how many friends that are physicians have asked me, how are you not working? What are you doing? How can I do this too? I'm tired. My friends that I went to residency with that graduated at the same time, I'm tired. I got one text me like 2 days ago, cardiothoracic surgeon who does heart transplants calls me out of the blue like 2 weeks ago and was like, "Yo, man, hey, I know you're doing something. What is it? I'm tired." He's a heart transplant. He's like, "I'm tired. All I do is work. I know you're doing something." And so it was
Teach me.
interesting because over the last year, I finally decided to put all this stuff because I was ignoring it for a long time. All my friends just like, "What are you doing? I need help. I need help." I was just ignoring. I was like, "Whatever. These guys are not going to do anything." And then um, I just came together and I was like, "Man, you know what? This is a great purpose. These people are great. They have great hearts. They went into medicine for the right reasons. They're getting screwed. I see a way to help them, right? And also build my own business, which gives me autonomy and freedom and help them do the same thing." So I thought it was like, this is great. And I'm in that system. I know that system. I know their pains, I know their suffering, and I know I can help them. So it was like just this amazing, all these things that came together, and I thought this is really almost perfect for me.
Well, it's lonely at the top, and I think the people with the most genuine heart, don't want to do this alone, and don't want to be wherever they're going alone either. And so helping others rise. I mean, that's why I
Absolutely.
was attracted to you in a pretty short amount of time, because you were willing to offer me support and give me advice on what it was that I was doing in any way that you could help. And the fact that it translates into what you're doing now is a big part of why we're talking right now, because I
Yeah,
truly
for
believe
sure.
the same thing. And I want to help as many people as I can achieve whatever it is that they're looking to achieve in any means that I can in my expertise. So
Yeah.
what's one thing that you'd want people to know that you think might be a misconception or that they don't already know about you?
About me, I don't know. Well, I do have a social media. I like to have fun, and that sometimes comes across as not nice. Let's put it that way
Let's
on social
explain
media.
that. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I don't know. I've just done a lot of dumb stuff. I just, when I see something crazy or funny or whatever, I'll just post it, and then I'll get this backlash of, I posted something about the Mondami thing a couple weeks or whatever that was a week ago, and oh my god, I got so many. You're a racist. I was just reading one. You're a racist piece of, whatever. It's just, yeah. I just like to have fun. I love people. I want to help people, and yeah, that's about it.
Well,
Don't take
sometimes
don't take
being a
anything I post on social media that serious. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think there's a big part to this whole journey for all of us that is a bit double edged. I mean, I lived through that experience all the time on questioning who I am, and who am I in front of the camera versus who I am behind the camera or off camera, and trying the best that I can to make sure that I'm living with integrity as much as I can. But at the end of the day, I think the people that are having the most success are the people that are just honest with who they are and where they're going. And that's not going to align with everybody. And I think the day of pleasing everybody is over. I mean, it just doesn't find the ultimate success. There's going to be people that we align with in who we are and what we're doing. And man, I would rather those relationships and the time that we have, like, and I'm guilty of a lot of that myself. So don't be hard on yourself at all. And I definitely don't see you in a different light for being honest and having your opinion. And I've watched some of your videos, and some of them are based on your business and some of them are based on your opinion of how the world works. And I think, it was a pretty big indication when you talked about 2020. I mean, I think we all experienced our own version of the COVID era where that segregated a lot of people, and we saw things a different way. In hindsight, I think everybody maybe would have treated that a little bit differently had they known what they know now. But the great part about life is you don't get that. You
Yeah.
don't get to have your cake and eat it too. Like you are living in the moment and you're doing what makes you feel good right now, and there's going to be people that align with that and people that don't.
Yeah,
So
I think that big lesson is that you can always change your mind. I have to say it was very difficult for me to figure out what was going on at the time. And I was in the healthcare system. And so there's no shame in anybody thinking, wow, I was thinking one way and now I think another way about it. And I think a lot of people get stuck in this. I have to be congruent of what I used to think or what I used to, well, I said this before. You can change your mind. And I definitely have changed my mind about that too, of some things around surrounding COVID for sure, but a lot of other stuff, certainly a lot of politics. I used to be very, very one-sided and think, probably say out loud things I shouldn't say out loud. But thank God there was no, iPhone back then, so I was okay. But if people weren't recording everything, but definitely I've moved much more to the middle now that I got a little older and been able to experience or interact and communicate with a lot of different types of people. So yeah, I think that's a sign that you're either maturing or at least using some brain cells. Figure
well,
out, okay, well, maybe let's change our mind about this and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, that I mean, that's maturing in its experience. I mean, the mistakes that we make in our business and in our life are mistakes that we make because we don't know any better. So you aren't going to know any better until you make the mistakes and you learn from failure, and then you get to reassess. And I think the biggest
absolutely.
mistake people can make is staying so stuck in their ways, regardless of what's happening around them, and they keep repeating the same mistakes. So, that's definitely growing. I would label that as growing, maturing, whatever you want. We're all on that journey, just at different levels and
Yeah, yeah,
in different areas, and we go through it in different intervals, right? Some take longer, and some learn it a lot quicker.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely,
if
man.
you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
Man, yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about this. I've thought about this some every once in a while, but not in a while. Honestly, I think I would do too much different, except a kind of, well, maybe I would listen more to people who have been where I was going, because I think it's very, well, when you're a kid, they're just adults, right? They're adults, they're telling you stuff. I don't know, I was kind of both ways. So I was really listening to adults mostly, but I also had a problem with authority, which I still do. If you can focus on those people and taking the input from the people that are where you want to go, then I think that would help you streamline your direction and path a lot more. I mean, there was definitely some stuff, especially when I was 20, that I was doing that was not, sending me on the right path or the right direction. And so I fumbled around a lot in that time. And so I think that I'm not sure that I had a lot of people to look up to that were physicians. I had like one or two doctors that I knew that did help me. I did listen to them, but they weren't close enough to me to help me in sort of a day to day type of scenario. So maybe I should have seek out those people a little bit more, so you can get to your destination a little bit faster, I guess.
Yeah, how many times have we heard that? And I mean, the challenge with authority, I think that's a gene that all entrepreneurs have in general.
That's true, that's true. That's probably a good thing that I have that.
Well, it makes you challenge the status quo. It's got its pros and its cons as everything does for sure. But would you? My personal question to that is like, would you? You said that you would have generally gone down the same path, but would you? Do you think you would have been still been a physician? Do you think you still would have gone down that path to learn all the things that you've learned now?
Yeah, at that time, there wasn't anything cooler that I could think of. I basically when I was like 15 or 17, I saw a documentary on these heart surgeons, and I literally was just thought to myself, this is the coolest, most badass thing I've ever seen anybody do, except the military, where and that's a whole nother thing. There was no way I'm going to the military. My mom would have killed me first. But anyway, I thought this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to do that. So there was yeah, at that time there was nothing else.
I
Now, if
agree.
I was 20 now, it'd be really difficult. There's a lot of amazing things to do. There's also a lot of distractions. So I'm not sure I would have been able to do it if it was now. And I'm so glad that I was able to do it at that time. Going into medicine, especially surgery, made me such a better person than I should have been. Like
That says a lot.
it made me such a better person than I should have been, honestly. Just getting to see all walks of life, getting to see lots of people suffering in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, changes your mind a lot, makes you think a lot differently, makes you, more empathetic to people and their problems and their way of life and things. And I think a lot of some of it you can get by traveling to different countries and continents and things like that, which I have done. And sort of almost I've relived some of that stuff because I was in Detroit. It was an inner city. It's very, impoverished population. And so, but we also were a giant hospital. So we got to see, pro athletes come in and guys with hundreds of millions of dollars and all this stuff. And so it's interesting in my position is that there's just humans and everybody has the same problems. And so you
Okay.
see this giant spread of different walks of life, and it's really a special thing. I feel very fortunate to experience that and to integrate that into my life and how I think about just life in general and your day-to-day stuff. So, yeah,
That's phenomenal, and that speaks to your passion about what you do. I mean, that's what I hear. That's what I hear through and through on everything that you're talking about and everything that you're doing. And I commend you for that because it's what will drive the most success for anybody is being passionate. And it's one thing I can say about my journey as well is I would agree with you. I've learned everything about who I am, and at the end of the day, I'm on the path that I'm meant to be on. And I hope to change as many people's lives as I can for the better. So it sounds like you're doing the exact same thing. So
absolutely. Yeah.
that's awesome. Last question for you before we go. What's the number one compliment that anybody has ever given to you?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That's interesting. I think the best compliments I get are usually through my mother from other people. And my mom will go into the grocery store and come home and say, I met so and so. You operated on her or her husband or her brother or whatever it is. And they said that you were so nice and you were the best doctor they ever met and blah, blah, blah. And so I've gotten that several times. And I feel like that is probably the best feeling when you're not because I sometimes I don't remember who these people are. She'll
Of course,
say, "Oh, you operate so," and you just do so much. You see so many patients, you do not remember. 'Cause a lot of times when you see the patient, then you, oh yeah, I remember this operation, whatever.
of course,
But
yeah.
I don't remember it at all. And so just to know that, thinking you're just going about your daily life, just how you're doing it, and that tells me that I'm living how I should be living if I'm treating people that I don't remember that well, and they're stopping my mother to tell her about it. So that that I love, and that I'm pretty proud of that, people that I get those compliments somehow come back to me. So, yeah,
That's amazing. I'd have to agree, man. That's an indirect compliment, right? The one that's not pressured in your face. You're just hearing. It's like a word of mouth referral. It's kind of the best thing we can get. So that speaks volumes to what you're doing, whether you remember it or not. Because I know you see a gajillion patients, and that's just the life of of a good physician, just a revolving door, which is also, of course, what you're trying to help people escape a little bit and get a bit more of that time freedom. So that's awesome, man. How can if anybody that I've got a lot of people in my network and we deal with a lot of people, investors, professionals, doctors, physicians, and I think I've gotten a ton of value out of learning more about your business, and you've even helped me in mine with your ability to integrate technology and AI, which was another thing that I was pretty blown away about, that you've got a pretty darn good handle on. I just want to know, how can people reach out, connect with you? What's the best way for them to learn more about your business?
Yeah, for sure. Social media is most social media is just Dr. Buck Parker. So DrBuckParker. drbuckparker.com is my website. Yeah. And drbuckparker@gmail. So that's about it.
It's phenomenal, man. And I can't wait to learn more about your business and share with you what's going on in mine, and how we can help each other and spread a bit of the love. So
sounds good.
Just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time and being one of my first guests on the Ultimate Real Estate Lifestyle podcast.
Love it.
Creating time
Even
freedom.
though I'm not a real estater, but I am, but I'm not.
We're all looking for the same thing.
Later, but yeah.
Sure. No, well, and we can, and this is about you. It's not about me, and but it's about time freedom. It's about creating the time freedom for people, and that's what we're here to do. Whether it's your business or my business, it's all the same stuff, man. So it's been awesome to meet you, and awesome to get to know your business more, man. And I appreciate your time very much, and we'll definitely see you soon. Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that wraps up our session. Thanks everybody for watching, and catch us on the next episode. Talk to you later.